The relevant story close. We've talked about this before. The relevant story close is very powerful because people think in terms of stories. And what it simply is a matter of telling a story about a happy client that you have had that followed your advice and was in the same position of hesitancy as your client, the one who's sitting here in front of you, but followed your advice anyway and went ahead with it and bought the product and was very, very happy. Let me give you an example from the insurance industry. I have a friend who's a very successful insurance agent, one of the top in the country, in fact. And he has a statement from the court that processed the estate of a man that was worth $1.5 million. And this statement has the names blanked out and everything. And it shows that this person died with $1.5 million in assets. But by the time taxes and legal fees and probate fees and intestate fees and everything had eaten up this account, his wife was left with $21,000 because he had no insurance. There was capital gains taxes, there was inheritance taxes, there were sales taxes, there were deferred taxes, there were taxes on tax. He said by the time it was over, his wife was left penniless. He died when he was something like 57, his wife was 53. She had $21,000 left for the rest of her life. He said this person thought that because he had this big asset base, he didn't need insurance. And a person says, well, I don't need insurance because I've got assets. They say, well, by the way, there was this fellow in Montana, and this is what happened to him, and they pull this out. Because it's a relevant story, the person can relate to that story. They can say, geez, yes, that might happen to me. Everything might be taken by taxes. It might take 5 years before my wife got any of this money, even if it wasn't taken by taxes. And it's a very, very powerful story to close an insurance policy. When a person is trying to sell a car, when a person is trying to sell blueprint printing services or industrial chemicals or artwork. For instance, we talked about how do you sell art. A person says, well, gee, that's very expensive. You said, yes, good art is expensive. And the only thing that makes it worthwhile buying good art is the speed with which it can appreciate. That if you buy this piece of artwork, there's no guarantee, but it's not uncommon to see a piece of art like this appreciate by 50, 60, 70% in a year. A perfect example is the work of Fafard. Perfect example. From Saskatchewan, making those little statues. 10, 20 years ago, nobody heard about them. Now his statues are literally priceless. I have a friend who bought one for, I think, $600. Now it's worth 10, 20, 30 times that. When you're selling something, tell a relevant story about somebody else who hesitated also, but decided to go ahead, and look what happened to them. Or a relevant story about somebody who decided not to buy it, and look at what unfortunate consequences ensued. The walk-away close. Now these three closes are very good, especially in retail. The first of the walk-away closes is that when a person says, well, I'd like to shop around, I'd like to go somewhere else, I'd like to see someone else, I'd like to check your prices with your competition and so on. What you do is you say, look, Mr. Prospect, we've been doing business here for many years. Most of our customers are repeat customers, and many of our customers come from referrals from repeat customers, and every one of them have shopped all over town before they finally came back here and bought. Now, why put yourself to all that trouble and go all over the place to try to find a better price? Why don't you make a decision right now, and we can wrap it up for you and get it loaded in your car this minute, or we can have it out to you tomorrow morning. You see, it's a very good reason. You must give the person a good reason for not shopping around, not going through those hours of agony, going door to door and pillar to post trying to find a better price. Give them a good reason, and a logical reason is that everybody who shops here has already done that for you. Why should you go and spend all that time, waste all that time shopping around, because you'll end up back here anyway, just as our other customers have. Well, let us say that the person says, well, I really still think I should go and check because I'm not sure that this is the best deal, and so on. You get people who are shoppers. Then you use an incentive, and the incentive is what is called the today only close. You say, Mr. Prospect, I'll tell you what, this is the end of our fiscal period, or this is the end of a sales contest, or we have only one or two of these items in stock, or we're just getting a whole load of new stock in tomorrow, and if you will take it tonight, I'll probably be able to get you an extra $25 off on this item, or whatever it happens to be. Since this is our last item, or we're going to have a price increase. We had a price increase last week. If you take it now, I can get it for you at the previous price. And give them a very strong incentive for making a decision now. A reason to buy this minute rather than to put it off any longer. And finally, if the person's absolutely convinced that they have to go and shop prices, they have to talk to other people, they have to go somewhere else, then you use what is called the go-ahead close. And very graciously you concede. You don't argue with them anymore. You don't try to get them to make a decision. You say, Mr. Prospect, I understand how you feel, and I think it's a good idea that you go and check prices in other places. But I want you to promise me one thing, is that before you make a decision, come back and see me, and I'll give you the best deal in town. Now, the person is now stuck. Because if they are one of these people who has to shop everywhere, they're going to go every single place in town, but in the back of their mind, they're going to be remembering that statement from you that before they make a decision, they have to come back and see you because you're going to give them the best deal in town. Don't give them a final price. Sometimes they say, well, what is the final price? What is the last price? You say, well, I'll have to talk to my manager, and I'll have to check with the boss, and we'll have to go through the books and everything else. So I can't give you that now, but you go and get the very best price that you can anywhere else, and then you come back to me and I'll give you the best deal in town. When they finally come back, they say, well, these are the best prices I can get. Can you beat it? If you can beat them on price, then by all means do so. If you can't, then you can put together a package which includes the item plus what you'll throw in plus the warranty, service, delivery, and so on, and you put it all up and you write it all out and you say, Mr. Prospect, this is the best deal you can get. And if he or she says, but that's higher price than what I can get it for over at XYZ company, say, Mr. Prospect, it's a higher price, but this includes the warranty, the service, the delivery, the setup, and so on and so forth, and it is the best deal you can get overall anywhere in town. Then the person has the choice of either buying it right there or then going back with your final offer and shopping that all over town. And then you say, why don't you give us a try? Why don't we wrap this up right now? What is the exact spelling of your last name? When would you like to have it delivered? And you go straight into another close. These are very, very powerful, and it's amazing, especially if you're in retail business, it's amazing how important it is that you have these walk-away closes, that you have the ability to say something to the prospect to get them to either make a decision now or be sure to come back to you before they buy it from somewhere else.